Hey, this is Lance with the Tech Scoop and Infotainment News. We have some audio here from Billy West's Q&A session at Sac-Con.
I started doing voices and noises and anything like that, Touretting out voices and noises and stuff. And I was really, really young. I had to be like 5. And I was already walking around like a talking machine, you know. It didn't matter what it was. And I'd try to sound like anything I heard or any voice I heard would stick in my head. My world was a real sonic one because I grew up in the 50s. And, you know, like all there was 3 channels on TV. And before school every morning, I watched the Three Stooges. They used to show the Stooges before I went to school every morning. So you can imagine I had no interest in academia. You know, and little did I know I was being prepared for the future in the United States of America because 50 years later, I was 10 at the time. So yeah, 50 years. I'm 60. Okay, I did the math. I'm sitting in an America that has no use for any of the things that I was taught. Math, forget it. Everybody's got the greatest computer in the world in their pocket. English, everybody has their own version. And history, and it's like there's a whole faction of people that are trying to erase history and rewrite it. So none of this stuff is, none of the stuff I was being taught. Math, forget it. English, history, science. There's a big contingent of people that don't want no science anymore. So I was being prepared for a future where I could actually have a job, you know, getting into voiceover. And I played music for a really long time. I was a guitar player, and singer, you know, shaking my ass. And then in 1978, I think I lost my spandex license. And, you know, I had to cut my hair. It was like a rooster, you know, just piled up all over the place. And I got into radio, which was in Boston. It was an FM station, WBCN. And I looked at this place, and to me it was a playground. I didn't know anything about radio, nor did I care. I just knew that I could go in here and rip the place to pieces just by cutting up and going on the air and doing things. And it was really great. I was also in the throes of serious alcohol problems and drug addiction. And so there's like 2 years of that radio station that I don't remember being there. You know, that's horrible. It's horrifying. Well, I can laugh at it now. What a dope, you know. But, you know, later on I straightened out before I moved from Boston. I was lucky enough to get help. But when I did move from Boston, I went to New York, and then I wound up working on the Howard Stern show, which is, you know, hey, Robin, I just farted. I don't know. Billy, what is it? Now, he has nothing to say, Robin. You know, it was all that kind of stuff. But while I was in New York, I was auditioning for shows for Nickelodeon, like Doug and Ren and Stimpy, and I had some commercials I was doing. I think I was doing like a McDonald's commercial where I was a McNugget. That had to be like 18 years ago or something. What if those nuggets are still like in the same shape they were the day when they were hot? They probably are. Like if there's a museum, it's like, who's that guy, Morgan Spurlock, who did the whole movie about fast food, and it's sitting there for like 9 years, and it's still, the shake is, it tastes like the day it was made. And it's like, uh-oh. But, you know, it's like being in the radio and everything, we're able to make fun of everything. And then, we were like a bunch of monkeys in a tree, you know, throwing crap at people. Oh, it was so much fun. And then one day, one of the little monkeys falls out of the tree and rolls to Los Angeles. Oh, well, of course, Mel Blanc, who did all the Looney Tunes. He lit the way. Like, to me, I lived in the dark ages. You know, this was before the Beatles even came out. The world was an ice ball, especially after John F. Kennedy got killed. Not only did Massachusetts love JFK, the country loved him, and the world loved him. So when he was assassinated, there was this depression like you don't know. People would be on the train looking at each other like, I didn't do it. You know, it's not my fault, man. This shit like that happens. You know, and it was so glum. And then the Beatles came along and unthawed the world. That's the only way I looked at it. And you know, I'm trying to think of what your original question was. I'm sorry, I get
Role models.
Oh yeah, him. Them. Her. June Foray, Rocky the Flying Squirrel, and Natasha No Goodnick. She's 95. But when I first met her and I went to work with her, I shook her little hand and she's about this big. I felt like a giant for once in my life. And I said, it's great to meet you, and I wouldn't let go of her hand because I guess I wasn't even thinking that I had it in my hand. And she said, yes, yeah, She goes, like my arm, and I go, and then I just realized that I was doing this, so I leaned in and I went, you know what are you going to do if I don't let go? I just want to pick you up and put you under my arm and take you home and love you and kiss you. She was adorable and frightening talent, the kind that would knock me over. You know, because I did know that there were responsible, no, not such responsible, but adults responsible behind the voices of the craziest things I ever heard in my life. And I just never thought, like, who is that or how you become one of them. Don Messick was one of those guys. He did the voice of Boo Boo Bear, and he was the Ranger. For people who don't know that, it's like the Ranger was like, Ranger Smith speaking. Yes? What? There's a bear in your bathtub? I'll get right on it. You know, and Boo Boo was like, the Ranger isn't gonna like this, Yogi. You know, and of course Dawes Butler, who did Yogi Bear and Huckhound and that. I did Yogi Bear once, and somebody said, well, how do you remember all these voices? But you remember the melody to the character before you try and dial up the voice out of nowhere, because every character has like a melody to it. Almost like a rhythm and a melody, you know. It's Zap Brannigan, all I have to do is remember, me, you know. And it just kind of comes flying out, it Tourette's out of you, I guess. So, you know, that's, I was a percolator. I think everybody is, of their influences and their nature and nurture, whatever that could be, or into whatever chemical balance that is. And it all goes in, and you somehow reinterpret it, and then hopefully you'll be a hybrid of all those things and create something new.